So the first video I sent was actually a presentation that we did about 10 years ago, which would have been about 30 years into the ministry, where literally God gave us number one. And then Phil Pope and myself working together, and many works coming off of that, and just one contact. And it was absolutely 100% of God. You know, I think in the notes that you talked to me, somebody wrote back, they said, you know, we want to brag on our missionaries. I understand it. I'm not trying to be, I don't know what the word is, but don't brag on me. I want to brag on somebody, brag on God. It has been absolutely 100% God if anything has happened here. Stuff has happened, but not because of hard work or because of planning or because of, it's just really been a day-by-day situation. Let me cut all that out. And I suppose there's 2 points. There's 2 reference points that I need to clarify, or not clear, but I want to mention. Number one was Chris Hughes, was my pastor in Lorain, Ohio, and Chris was an incredible preacher, and he was an incredible pastor. And every time he preached, he literally rang my bell, and it was just uncanny the way the Lord used him. And so one day I asked Chris, I explained to him, I said, man, every time you preach, you ring my bell. How do you do it? What do you do? And Chris came back and said, he says, I don't know if I do or I don't. He says, I don't know. He says, but what, he says, when I meet God, he says, I feel like I'm successful, or more successful, when I meet God as a man. And I said, what are you talking about? God, meet God as a man? He says, well, if I'm going to meet you, he says, I meet you at a given place at a given time. And if I'm late, I apologize. And so he says, I've got a place, he says, when I can keep this up, he says, I've got a place that I meet God, and I have a time when I meet God at that place. And if I'm doing anything, if I'm on visitation or the hospital or whatever, and it comes, I go to that place. It's just not a matter of me finding a corner and just basically, you know, God is a convenient God. It's not. I don't handle it like that. So I meet God at a specific place at a specific time. And that was really good advice. Number 2, you know, at one point I had 6 kids here, and the kids were perfect in time. So you could get more translators with one phone call calling my house than you could have anywhere in anywhere in Thailand. And so Doug Derbyshire, who's a Southern Baptist missionary from a hospital down south, about an hour from here, he said, he called me up and he asked to borrow my kids. I said, sure. So, because he had a group coming in from the States. And so my kids went down there, probably 4 of them. And after a week, they came back, and I asked them, I says, so what did you do? He says, well, we went on a prayer walks. We went on prayer walks. He says, a prayer I know, and walks I know, but walk I know. I says, oh, what's a prayer walk? He says, well, we get up about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we go down to market, and we just pray. And we see a vendor, and we'll pray for him, and maybe we'll give him a tract, but there's nothing really aggressive, or it's just a matter of, it's just total prayer. And we walk through town and we pray for circumstances and situations that God brings to our mind. And I had never really heard of that. I heard of prayer, and I heard of fasting, and I heard a lot of other stuff. You're going to have to excuse the construction work and the motorcycles and the dogs. And it's just, this is the best I can do right at the moment to get this thing out. so my weight was getting up, and I wanted to try to control it, and so try to exercise. Make a long story short, I started getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and walking, and I'd walk for probably 2 hours. And in that 2 hours, it turned into a prayer walk. Now, at this point, the congregation here in Coney was 3. Now, we've been consistently having people saved, but they die. So I had a congregation of 3, but 9 were dead. And we would have somebody saved, and 1 would die, and then we would have 2 saved, and 1 would die. And so this went on for years, to the point where, you know, I just didn't know what to do. And so I started these prayer walks, and it came down to the point where God, I don't know what to do. I honestly don't know. I have no more tricks up my sleeves. And I have no more money. I'm tired. I just don't know what to do. Now, prior to this, we passed out 3 million tracts. Prior to this, we were on visitation every day. Prior to this, we taught English. Prior to this, we take people to the hospital. We had done everything imaginable to make contacts. And it was like God said, "You're going to take them to the hospital? Well, that's good." And then God would back up. You teach English? Yeah, that's good. And God would back up. And you know, help them in their farm. Well, that's good. And God would back up. And I'm just trying to generate contacts. I'm just trying to meet people, to be able to witness to them. And every time, God would back up. And so, going down the road, and I says, "God, I'm out of tricks. I don't know what to do. I'm out of energy. I'm out of ideas. I don't know what." And it was like God said, you know, oh, you don't know what to do. Oh, you don't have any more ideas. You got no more money. You got no more energy. Oh. Let me see what I can do. I'm not exaggerating. We had a congregation of 3, and from the prayer walks, the congregation went to 5, and within 3 months we were probably running 30. Not because of tracts, not because of visitation, just because of God. And so the work started to come together here, and then a friend of mine died up in Nong Khai, which is 10 hours, 12 hours north of here. And he had 17 rye, which is about 7 acres. And Ricky Salmon and the other couple of the missionaries said, you know, Tim, would you go up and would you consider going up and trying to save the work? And so I went up there, and God used another mission, a national, Bradit, to go in there every month to keep things going. And so Butch died, or actually was very, very sick. So I went up to Udorn, and I brought him back down into Coney Oak, and he was absolutely. Butch couldn't do anything, couldn't say anything. When I brought him down from the Coney Oak, when I brought him down to Nong Khai, there was never a word said. He couldn't communicate. And so when Butch died, he had bed sores this big. You could see his ribs. And so, but now the work, the 10 years that he had put into the work in Nong Khai, what are you going to do? Just let it go down the tubes? And the investment? He'd probably put $4 or $5 million worth of his investment. He was retired military, and the support that he had, and he'd been up for over 10 years. And they got a small congregation, and on and on and on. So, okay. So I went up there, but the church in Coney Oak hasn't come together yet. But now I'm separate. But now I'm spinning 2 works. And so I'm up there, and Butch's pastor was named Kevin Bernard. He's out of Ward, Arkansas. And so I contacted all of Butch's supporters. We had about nine supporters, and I told them what Butch had died, and I was going to carry on his work, because they helped me financially, and probably 2 of them did, 3 of them did. And so basically, financially, I'm pushed. But that's okay. What are you going to do? You know, you do what you can do, and so anyway. And so I'm up in Nong Khai, and I'm in Nong Khai. I'm in Nakoniyok back and forth every week, driving back and forth. And Kevin Bernard says, Tim, is the property up there, which is 7 acres, is the property up there conducive for a children's home? I said, whoa, yeah, it is. You go, it's just a small Muban, just a small village, maybe 100 houses. There's not a 7-Eleven, there's not a stop light, there's not even a stop sign. It's just 100 houses in a cluster. And so it is quiet, and it is peaceful. And it's a farming situation where we can use, where kids can just be kids. And so I said, yeah, it is. So he put me in contact with a fellow named Larry Neff with Lighthouse Children's Homes. And so the situation grew, and then we found out legally Butch really had no title to the land, the 7 acres, although he had put several $1 million worth of property on it. Butch was married to a Thai, and everything is just done easy. They call it ngang ngang. He paid him the money for the land, but there was never even a receipt. But everybody in the Muban in the village knew that this is what was going on, so it was like word of mouth. But nothing legal as far as the federal government. And so, okay, we're going to look for financing from the states and keep financing from the states, then we have to get legal. And the land is government land. The 7 acres was government land. So I went down and talked to the boss. And I told him the situation. We had to divide the land from the fellow that we bought it from, and he said, what are you going to do? I said, well, we're going to start a children's home, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we got a church up there. And he says, that's a good idea. And it would be good for the Muban, and everything would be good. He says, but you can't do it. He says, because that land is set aside for agriculture. And number one, number two, as an American or as a Farang white person, this land can't even be transferred to a Thai. It's got to be, if you're going to transfer it anywhere, it's got to be to an association. I said, well, I asked them, I said, so suppose we do exactly what you said. We set up an association, and we develop the land agriculturally, whatever it be, whatever we have to do. Can I use the land to teach the kids? He says, as long as the land is used for agriculture, you can do what you want to do. You can use the land to teach kids responsibility and work habits and business and how to grow corn, how to raise pigs and chickens and worms, and you can do what you want to do to teach these kids. And so that's what I've been working on, setting up an association. 4 years, and it's just about to come together. We got 2 kids in there. Now, why God hasn't given us more, I don't know. Maybe because of me, maybe because of things not being orderly as far as the government yet. I don't know. I don't know. But so the church in Nong Khai is coming together. They're very, very sweet people, very, very nice people, but they're not outgoing. They're not gregarious. They're just nice people, and they love God, and they come every week. But there's not a whole lot of evangelism, basically because they feel like they're lower class. And so my work in Nong Khai for the last 5 years has been, number one, develop the church, develop the people, to where they feel like they know. I mean, they have some background, they've got some relationship with God, and God is actually working in their lives. And there's starting to be, it used to be I would preach and they would listen. very, very attentively, which was good. But there wouldn't be a smile, there wouldn't be a nod head, because that's the way the times are. And so God has brought the church around to the point where the first thing we do is we say, Moss, not Moss, but Maud, this week what did God do here? Not last week, not two. This week, what did you see God do? Somebody, this week, what did you? And every week we do this. And so we rehearse and we review what God did for them, because we forget, right? I mean, God comes down and works in our lives, and 10 minutes later we forget. That's sorry flesh. And so basically, we review what God did that week. And now we start that, and then there becomes a cross conversation across the board, and people start to understand that God is working. And I think our numbers have grown. We've gone from 4 to probably 13 that are there every week, and it's good, and it's fun. And then we got the 2 boys, which are incredible. Both of them are probably each one of them has probably memorized 70 verses. There's a system. There's a memory system that's called Walk Through the Bible. They've probably memorized an hour and a half of one book, 2 sections, and then going through the different sections of the Bible, and it's incredible. And maybe if I have a chance, I'll send it to you. The kids are growing. And then the land. I'm not a farmer. Don't. And so, but it's not a matter of farming, it's a matter of God. And the church is not a matter of me, it's a matter of God. And the kids, it's not a matter of me, I'm telling you, it's really God. And so, by you supporting me, you're really supporting what God's doing here, and it's going to come together. Very slowly. Now, the first tape that I sent you, God gave Jezda, and things started to work miraculously. Jezda was God-given. God's not working like that right at the moment. Now, I don't know. I'm doing what I can do, but I believe we're right on the verge of the association coming together, of more kids, of the church growing. And so, that's where we are. At the same time, I need help. We had a fella, Kevin Bernard's kids were going to come over, and they were going to take over the children's home, and they went somewhere else. So it's Maureen and myself, and that's just what I need, right? Sorry, that's just the way it is. And so, I'm 72 years old. On the outside and the inside, I feel like I'm 35. Maureen's behind me 100%. She's working. She's supporting me. She's supporting the circumstances. But I need somebody. I need somebody over here that, I'm planning to be here until I'm 100. I have there's no exit strategy. There's no retirement. Unless I go crazy, unless I go senile, unless I start tearing up the pea patch. That's another story. But we're here for the duration. But we need people to help. I need a physical body to come over and work with Maureen. My kids came over. That's why this tape is late. And so Marcy came over. She was born here, and she came over with her husband, and my granddaughter and my son-in-law's mother were here getting teeth worked out. And they've been here since Thanksgiving, and they went home last night. Everything's good. Everything's good. So I appreciate what you're doing to support God's work here. And I need prayer. I need friends. And you have been there. I can't imagine you going through what you did with the hurricanes and the flood and all, just wiping you guys out. I just can't imagine. And so I'm 100%. You've had your God moments where you know it's not you, it's God. So I'm really talking to the choir. So Lord bless you, and thank you.